Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. You gotta dream. You gotta protect it. You want something, go get it. Period.
What's up, guys? Jay Bandy here with the For the Love podcast, and I'm back after 3 years. Ended the podcast in 2020, starting it in 2019, ran for 30 episodes. This episode is going to be about why I ended the podcast, the reasoning for it, why I'm bringing it back, what I was doing for the past 3 years after I retired. And if you didn't know, I was a police officer for most of my, I would say, adult life. And I'm now 38 years old, retired when I was 35. I had a very roller coaster of a career, and I'm sure a lot of people who know me want to know the ins and outs of that. So I'll be getting into certain aspects of my career, things that I can talk about, things that I can't talk about, and we're just gonna flow for this episode and get back into what this podcast really was about. And when I started this podcast, I just started to realize that I had a real passion for talking to people and just learning about their lives. Because everybody out here is different. Everybody out here handles things differently. But at the same time, it's ironically interesting because we're also the same. You know, we all have the same emotions. We all go through a lot of the same situations in life. And then we all have unique experiences. So I came across a lot of people in my life and got into a lot of deep conversations with them. And I just would always feel really good when I was talking to these people and listening to them and understanding them and wanting to know more. It just kept me very intrigued. So I turned it into a podcast, and we ran it for 30 episodes. And it started in 2019. 2020, I was retiring. I put in my papers to retire, and around that time was when the podcast, we were running certain episodes about what was going on in the country. You know, 2020 was pretty crazy. It was something that most people didn't experience. Everybody had opinions and views. So every once in a while, we would run some episodes of me and a couple buddies, all different, opinions, and we would talk about what was going on in the country, whether it was conspiracy theories or, COVID or things like that, right? Because this is reality. So everybody's views are everybody's views, and nobody was hateful on there, derogatory or anything like that. And it was interesting to me because I ran the podcast for 30 episodes, and not once did anybody come at me for anything wrong. Okay, and the second I put my retirement papers in, the media just started to come at me. Now, it was 2020. I was a police officer. I was outspoken. I'm not afraid to speak my mind and give my opinion, especially if I see things being wrong or people doing bad things. I'm one who, if people know me, they know that I live my life one way. I don't change my personality in every situation. I don't bounce around. I don't flip-flop. I just believe I live a very black and white life. I believe in doing good and treating people good and living a karma-free life and just having no victims of your life, right? So at that time, it was a very emotional time for everybody in the country. And so when I put those papers in, it was almost like the media just swarmed me, attacked me, okay? Now, at the same time, the department that I worked for decided to open an investigation into my social media. Now, it was almost over a year that I was running this show for, and not once did anybody try to open an investigation, write an article, or come at me for any reasons, right? So it was kind of ironic the second that I put my papers in to retire, all this starts to happen, okay? So in 1 week, the New Haven Independent writes about 4 articles about me, bashing me, saying I was a white supremacist, saying that I was anti-gay, all these things, which was obviously not true. I had every walk of life, every type of person on my podcast, and everybody who knows me knows that I'm not I don't live my life like that. So not only that, they just tried to really pull every which way they could to destroy me at the end. And this is ultimately what most of my career was, right? For me, at least, it was really just looking over your shoulder and having to worry about who's going to come at you, having to defend yourself from things that you never thought you would have to defend yourself in a job, right? You know that job is hard. You know that you're going to deal with crazy stuff, but you don't realize what you have to deal with internally, with the politics and the corruption and all these things going on in policing. And if anybody's going to sit here and say that doesn't happen, of course it happens, all right? It's government. We know it happens, and I've experienced it. Now I'm retired. I can talk a little bit more about it. There's some things I can talk about, some things I can't talk about. I do have lawsuits going on, which is something the media lied about. Several things they lied about regarding my life. I left with a full pension. They claimed I didn't get a pension, or I got some minimal type pension. They sat there and wrote articles about a company that I have called V-Rush Designer Supplements, which I created the world's first pre-workout vape. They tried saying I was trying to kill people with my vapes, and it was just, they were coming at me in every which way. And with that, what happened with that is now I started getting people harassing me, sending me threatening Facebook messages, driving by my house and egging my house. So all the while, I'm trying to just end my career here and move on with my life. Now, my entire career, I dealt with things like this, okay? And if you're familiar with my career, then you'll know what happened to me and what was going on, and everybody has a different opinion, okay? I don't really worry about people's opinions. I know what I lived through, and the people around my life saw what I lived through and what has happened. I've taken responsibility for things I've done, and I've also fought for the things that I know I was right about. So we'll bring it back because we'll start from the beginning. I was young when I got hired as a police officer. I was probably about 22 years old, around there. It was when I look back, and it's very important for you to do this in your life. When I look back, I'm 38 now, and I look back at that time of my life, now I realize how, as a young man, you're not as strong as you think you are mentally. You probably haven't even gone through enough yet to really, really be able to control your emotions, your thoughts, your stress, all those things, right? So at that time, I was dealing with certain aspects of life that I never dealt with before, okay? I had a family member that was on drugs. My mother was a single mother. My father lived in Michigan my whole life. So I was going through the police academy. I had a girlfriend of probably about 4 years since high school or whatever at the time. As I get out of the academy and I'm in the training, this girlfriend at the time ends up, cheating on me with some kid that she was with prior to me who just got out of jail. She gets pregnant by him. They start basically harassing me and making up lies to my police department because they were worried that he was going to go back to jail because he ended up breaking into my mother's house looking for her one night because she was basically coming, back and forth between me and him, and I had no idea. I'm trying to focus on being a cop, learning this new job, all these things. So at the same time, I got a family member that I'm trying to help out and situate. I got a single mother who's stressed out, trying to handle a lot of things as well. And I'm trying to learn the job, So basically what happens is up until then, I was never really somebody who drank alcohol or went out that much or did things like that. I was always pretty focused on just making money and getting my career and things like that and working because, I didn't grow up having everything handed to me. I had to really make things happen. So one day I'm working an extra duty job and, I'm exhausted. I'm mentally just drained. And so another coworker asked me if I wanted to go out that night. It was around Halloween. I was like, nah, man, and at the time I was working midnights. So I said, nah, I really don't feel like it. I'm actually exhausted. I think I'm just going to call out tonight and rest, man. So that's what I do. I call out of work. I rest. I'm sleeping. This person calls me again. Now I wake up, and I'm young, and I'm, probably not realizing how stressed I really am dealing with all this. And, now I didn't want to sit home, so I'm like, man, like I made the decision to go out, and I look back, it was stupid, obviously. And so I go out with this coworker and stupid me, I'm young, I don't even realize how stupid it is. I go to New Haven, where I'm supposed to be at work, right? So I go to the bar with him, and, people are giving us drinks, this and that, and I never really, this was probably maybe the second, third time in my life, if that I drank. And so I was intoxicated, but I was not like obliterated, And the night ends. I go to the restroom. Now I knew a lot of people in that atmosphere of the nightclubs and stuff downtown New Haven and things like that because I was I used to DJ, I used to do stuff like that, and I grew up around there. So me and a couple people are still inside. After the place closes. I go to the bathroom. As I'm in the bathroom, a bouncer comes in. I was probably missing the urinal. It's a nightclub bathroom. It's not something that's uncommon if you've ever been in one. So now the bouncer starts basically like being aggressive with me, thinking that I'm just some guy that was in there after hours that shouldn't be there. But I knew people that were running the parties, things like that. So that's why I was still there. So now he's getting aggressive with me. I'm telling him I'm just using the bathroom. I'll be out in a couple minutes. Now, at that time, I had to, because he was being so aggressive to the point where he wasn't taking no for an answer, I had to tell him I was a cop. So I'm like, listen, man, I'm a cop. I'm trying to just use the bathroom. I'll be out. He goes now he leaves, walks out, goes to the front door where there's a police officer working. Gets that police officer, that guy comes into the bathroom. This guy was a veteran. I was a rookie. Sometimes they talk down to you. They don't respect you as a rookie, right? And it is what it is, but I was never one to really let people do that to me. So me and him have words. I walk out of the bathroom. We continue to have words. I get with my coworker. We leave. I go home. About 2 hours later, I have supervisors at my door. All right. He calls the supervisors, kind of throws me under the bus. He was also good buddies with the guy who owned the club. So it is what it is. I was wrong regardless, right? So I took responsibility for it, and I manned up, and I was wrong. So, but the problem is that everything gets skewed, right? Now the media gets a hold of it. Now the bar owner is on TV talking about it because the media wants them to talk about it. So everybody has their own motives of why they do things. Media wants views. They want to out a cop. The bar owner, it's a good opportunity to get his bar out there. Long story short, the next night I go to talk to the cop that was working the door just to kind of like clear the air. He was not very, accepting of that, and it is what it is. So I leave. I go back to work, whatever. They end up doing a warrant for me. I get locked up. Okay, I get locked up. They basically bring me to the board to fire me. And now I'm a rookie. I don't have a leg to stand on. I'm just a young cop here. I didn't know nobody in that department. So long story short, they fired me. Now, my face was everywhere. I was all over the newspapers. I was all over the news. And the story that the media ran was that I pissed all over the bar, that I threw trash cans everywhere, that I told the bouncer that I was a cop and do you know who I am and things like that. And listen, anybody who knows me knows that I'm not that type of person. All right. Now, did the alcohol make me that type of person? No. In my version, no. Okay, but it is what it is. The media, they play things up. They hype things up. They did this my whole career, all right, even to the end, when they're writing articles about me killing people with vapes that never happened. So, And what's crazy is they're allowed to just write whatever they want. Whatever they want. It could be a blatant lie. Nobody's fact checking it. There's no ethics when it comes to this stuff with them. It's just, how can we make this person liked or hated, and get people to watch it or read it. So it was what it was. And I mean, listen, I was wrong. I was young. I had a lot going on. There's no excuse for it regardless. I manned up. I took my responsibility. My termination went to the state board. It was overturned into a suspension where I served a 1.5 year suspension, and I came back to work. Okay, I was grateful for it. I knew that I was getting a second chance, so I took full advantage of that second chance. And when I look back at that, I'm like, wow, man, like all these things that would happen to me, how important and significant they were to me and my growth and who I am as a man today. Not easy, and you don't look at it during that time, but it's certainly something that grows you. And it grew me very early in my life, because when I came back to the police department, I started to see a lot of things, right? Everybody knows cops, you know, they like to go out, they like to drink, they like to you know, get together and do their thing, right? So I never fell into that. I never was the guy going out with the cliques and drinking and partying and you know, doing this stuff, because I already learned my lesson, man. To be honest with you, I learned my lesson early in life. That was my blessing. Something that really, you know, if it's followed me my whole life, it is what it is. But it taught me such a good lesson, and it took me away from things that, who knows what would have happened, you know, if I didn't go through that. So I never really fell into that again. I never really drank after that much, you know what I mean? Here and there, social, like if I go to dinner, I have a drink or something, but, you know, never really did it after that. So I come back to work. I knew I had to prove myself, right? I have to be worthy of this job, worthy of this second chance. So that's what I did. I came back and I started just putting all my effort into proving that I was worthy of this job. And in reality, it really doesn't matter. I could go out there, I could be the best cop in the world, the worst cop in the world, if people are going to like you or hate you for their own reasons. So now you come back to this job, and you're going to deal with people that, like I said, they like you or they dislike you. It just is what it is. And even without that happening, you know, this profession just has a lot of that. It has a lot of egotistical, power-hungry people. It has a lot of great people. I've met them all. All right. So the problem is a lot of the people at the top of these professions, governments, so on and so forth, they tend to be the most egotistical, and they tend to really not be the best people, to be honest. Because let's be real, to get to that top, you have to do a lot of negative things. You have to be willing to lie. You have to be willing to stab people in the back. You have to be willing to do what's best for, you know, you and whoever else you're protecting or you're you know, side by side with up there. You know, so this is the reality of what goes on out here, okay? So you're dealing with all these people. So I come back, and most of my career, you know, it was really just me trying to have to navigate around these types of people. And I stayed true to myself. And what I realized early in my life was that anytime I had to really kind of change who I was or structure my personality or just who I am as a person to appease someone else, I never liked that. I never felt good. It felt really awkward to me, almost like I can't do it. So I realized that early in my life, and to me, the job really was. It's not a hard job. It's really just an easy job in reality. It's what you're dealing with inside, in the politics, things like that. That's really just disheartening at times to see how people that are put up on pedestals and looked at in society as, wow, they're a chief of police, wow, they're a mayor, wow, they're this. they're really not who they portray themselves as. Okay? And so now what they do is they use their power to basically bully you, make your life hard. Now, think about how much time you take to go to work in your life. You are at work a lot. So imagine going to work every day and getting bullied by these people, trying to progress in your career and them blocking it. I would get picked for specific units, undercover units, drug units, this, that, whatever, trying to just, do what I wanted to do with my career, and they would block it because ultimately they had final say. It didn't matter, the bosses of these units would pick me and they would block it. I'd put in to be training officers. They would not let me be a training officer, yet they would let somebody who was the laziest cop in the department be one. A lot of things was who's their buddies, who do they like, who do they not, okay? And this is how people progress in the working world, and not just in policing, but in a lot of places, right? The boss's friends get the jobs. And the thing is this, there's a lot of things that go on that get covered up by these people because of who they're buddy with, who's the chief's friend, who's this, who's that. The stories of what people do out here in this world and what people do in jobs and what gets covered up based on who they are is everywhere. So it's not far-fetched. And what I did was wrong. It was stupid. It was not something that was fun to deal with, right? But I manned up. I did what I had to do. I did everything that was asked of me. And I'm sitting here coming to work every day getting bullied and not being able to progress. And then I'm watching other people do things that are just, wow, way worse. Way worse. And they never get touched. So that starts to really just weigh on you, okay? It starts to weigh on you. So now my whole career I go through this, all right? Not being able to progress, just constantly always being messed with, all right? And down the road I'll be able to get into a little bit more in regards to it because, like I said, I have legal matters that are still going on, which is another thing that the media lied about, trying to say that my lawsuits were, thrown out of court and this and that, which never happened. So it was a long road. But when I look back, I say to myself, wow, man, I would never change anything. I would never change anything. And part of the reason why they can never really get me on anything and never really get rid of me, which is ultimately what they wanted to do, and because they can't get rid of you in a legal manner, because if your work ethic is good, what can they do, right? So that was the thing is I'll put everything on my work ethic, all right? So I wasn't out there violating people's rights. I wasn't out there treating people poorly. I was doing what I felt was the best way to be a police officer. Treat people with respect, but there has to be authority. And my ultimate goal was I'm here to help somebody. I don't want to have to take them to jail if I don't have to. I want to come up with a solution that's going to better everybody. But that doesn't always happen. It's part of the job, right? So, but always good intentions. And that's why they couldn't get rid of me. That's why they couldn't fire me. And that's why I had a lot of support. That's why I had a lot of support from really good people. And when you're going against really bad people and you have a lot of really good people on your side, that's huge. And that was something that I looked at in my life, especially at a specific point that I will talk about down the road, where I had to go to a hearing where they were trying to fire me, and the amount of support that I had was amazing. It was amazing. It was unbelievable. So these things grew me into the man that I am now, all right? And my work ethic got me through that, and staying true to myself. And then I had to fight for myself ultimately and who I wanted to be. Because the thing is this, to really be a police officer, a good police officer, when you think about it, your job is really going out there and standing up for other people. So if you don't have the balls to stand up for yourself, what makes you think you're going to care about standing up for other people if you don't care enough to do it for yourself? So for me, that's being a good police officer. That's being confident. That's knowing that you have to have that ability. So that's what I did. All right. I was confident, and in my gut, I knew that this was what I had to do. I had to stand strong. I'm not going to let anybody out here take what's mine or walk all over me or try to bury me just because they don't want me there. You know, I deserve this just as much as anybody else. I put in the effort and the work, and I took the responsibility. So, you know, you're always going to deal with these people. They're never going to go away. They're everywhere. And I had a lot of incidents with these types of people. But when I look back, I'm like, man, how all this stuff, all that stress, all the things that I probably in the moment was so miserable about, was so angry or bitter or, you know, just stressed out, whatever it was. Now I look back and I'm like, man, that grew me so much. That made my life exactly what it is today. You know? And I know there's people out here that go through this all the time. When I was going through this, I had cops come up to me all the time and be like, man, I wish I could do what you're doing. Standing up for myself. But people are afraid to do it because they have to worry about, if I tell this power to be, or if I tell this superior no, or I stand up for myself, and they don't get what they want, they're going to make it hell for me. I could lose my job. My kids cannot eat. I can foreclose on my house. This is what happens. And you think those people care? No. So I took that risk, not just for myself, but for a lot of people. Because I would watch every day this happen to other people too. Maybe not to this extent with me, but I watched other people have to go through it too. And it's not cool. So a lot of what I did wasn't just for me. It was for people that are going to have to deal with these people after me. So that they couldn't rid me because my mindset is just too strong. It's too strong. And you have to go through shit to make it that way. You have to be confident in yourself to not let people just walk all over you. You have to know what your ability is as a person and realize that really everybody out here has the same abilities in certain aspects. So you can't let another human being do that stuff to you. All right? They couldn't get rid of me because there was nothing to get rid of. They just didn't like my personality and they didn't like my personal life. You know, I was creative. I like to do other things other than just being a cop 24/7 because I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's healthy. And what's funny is you know, for me it's hard because all you gotta do is Google me. You Google me, go read these articles. Okay? I look like a maniac. I look crazy, right? And then look at me, you know? I'm all tattooed up, this, that, whatever. It's very easy to paint that picture of me. It's very easy to paint that picture of me. But what you won't find are the articles that were written about me saving people from house fires, me saving a dog that was abandoned in a porta potty and getting it rescued and adopted and creating a GoFundMe and just all the things, the positive things that you do as a police officer. They don't want to show that unless it benefits them. And I'll give you an example. When these things happen, and when I was doing something good, that's when they want to come to you and they want to be nice to you and they want you to do things with the media or they want you to get interviewed and this and that, whatever. And you know what I would say? No. Because ultimately it's not to praise what I'm doing. It's not to give me any type of, that a boy. It's to benefit them, to make them look good. So you got to read between the lines with these people. So ultimately, that was why the podcast was shut down. It was just, they were coming at me from all aspects. They tried blocking my pension. They tried taking my medical away from me. They didn't succeed with anything, and they never did, all right? They never did because I wasn't afraid, and I'll never be afraid to stand up for what is mine, what I worked for, all right? And you shouldn't be either. And I know there's a lot of people out here that go to work every single day dealing with this. Go to work dealing with coworkers, bosses, superiors that just bully them, abuse them, treat them poorly. You don't have to deal with that. And if you need to reach out to me and talk to me about it and understand how I got through it and what I did, send me an email, send me a DM. I'll talk to anybody. So I had to shut the podcast down, So I had to protect my pension because at the time they would try to do anything to bury you and take your job away from you. And ultimately, a lot of times it's really hard as an employee to defend yourself and stop them from doing it. A lot of times they get away with it. So they get away with firing you, and then you have to jump through all these hoops. And sometimes it costs you money, it costs you attorneys, time. You're not getting paid to pay your bills. They know what they're doing. And the other aspect is this. Now I had to turn around and I have to file lawsuits for what I endured. And do you think they care? The money doesn't come out of their pockets. It comes out of your pockets. It's tax money. The city's going to have to pay, if that, right? So when do they get held accountable is the question. They rarely do. And this is why they get away with doing what they do to people. And it's really just sad. So after I retired, I made it through. I took a year off to just kind of like chill out and do some things that I wanted to do. And because for me, after I retired, I really wanted to become free. I wanted my life to be about what I wanted to do with it. And I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I didn't have anything like that. My life was hectic. It was crazy, and it was probably a good thing that those things didn't happen for me at the time because it was not easy to be with me, I'm sure. It was not easy. It definitely would not have been fair to a child to bring into that chaos. So, God didn't give me those things, and I'm grateful for that. But I wanted to take time to really understand myself, really learn what I wanted to do with my life, and not just rely on policing and security and all these things, right? So, I retired, sold my house, went to Florida for a little while, came back. It was just not the right time for me down there. I wasn't really mentally there yet to be in another place. And so I came back, got my barber's license, bought another house, and just started to really evolve in my life and try to understand myself more, all right? At the same time, try to love the people that were in my life as hard as I can. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So I took a step back, really, and I put more effort into just living a more low-key life, And it was interesting because nobody cares now, right? Nobody cares. Nobody's writing articles about me. Nobody's sitting here, egging my house and stuff and sending me threats because I don't wear a uniform. And that's the only reason why, right? So it's very ironic to see it now, and now you see it more and more when you're somebody who dealt with this and you see what the media does to other people out here and the cancel culture that's out here and all these things. It's just like, wow, man, wow. When you lived through it. I know everybody out here doesn't understand it, and everybody's on one side or the other, but this shit's real out here. People's lives are getting, destroyed, messed up, and if you're not strong enough to get through that, it could bury you. These are things that people go through that whether it's their fault, not their fault, the media lying, whatever, it is tough. And these are experiences in life that some people cannot get through. Most people probably can't get through, So, so I got my barber's license, started barbering. And for me, I always like to be creative. I enjoy it a lot. It connects me with a lot of people. And I'm constantly learning, constantly getting better. Constantly, it keeps me very passionate about working. It's fun. You know, there's a lot of things to do in that profession. You can take it anywhere. So it was something that I took the time to learn, and was very beneficial for me. And for me, when I want to do something, or when I'm really intrigued with something, or I have a creative vision, it's very hard for me not to do it. So I try a lot of things in life in that aspect, because why wouldn't you? You can't be fearful to go out here and do the things that you want to do in this life. And don't be insecure about it either. Don't let people bring you down and think that you are, you know, not cool because you're not doing what they want. This is your life. You get to do whatever you want with it, as long as it's positive. All right? The way I live my life, I don't want victims of my life. I don't want people crying because of me. I don't want people sad because of me. So I try not to live that way. You know, are we perfect? No. You know, but the thing too is I've always been an open book. All right, I don't hide my life. I don't change my personality. I don't go around flip flopping, like I said, and you know, trying to fit in. Because think about life. Most people out here really don't know themselves, and a lot of people really don't take the time to know themselves. And when you're growing up, nobody gives you that opportunity. You're going to school, you have to be what the teachers in the school want you to be, right? And act how they want you to act. You go to work now, and they want you to be a specific way and be who they want you to be, all right? Then you got your parents, you got society, and if you're not strong enough to just say, nah, man, fuck that, or have that feeling that I had where it doesn't feel right, those are intuitions that you really have to understand. Really have to, when that happens, don't take it for granted, and look into that feeling. So people out here aren't really understanding themselves. Not really figuring out who they really are, what they really want. You know, and a lot of times they're distracted too, because work, kids, life takes over, right? So you don't ever really get that time to do it. So I'm an open book. I can't switch my personality up to appease people. It's just who I am. This is who I am. And the other thing is like I said, I don't want people crying and hurting over my life. I don't want victims of my life. So I live a very certain moralistic code to my values. And for me, it makes me be able to walk around and not have to worry. Because I don't have to worry about lies that I have to keep up with. I don't have to worry about, you know, hurting people and what they think about me because of it. I don't have to, you know, I can just worry about what I need to do in my life. So for me, I'm an open book, and people know this. I don't hide my emotions. I don't hide my feelings. I don't hide, you know, anything. And for some people, that's intimidating. For some people, that's aggressive. For some people, it makes them feel insecure when you come around people like that, because you have to have a confidence to be okay with that. And it also brings you have to have a lot of discipline. All right? This world's full of temptation, full of easy ways to get what you want through negativity. So you have to be disciplined to avoid that temptation and walk down that path of you know, righteousness and doing what you think is right and moral. And it's not easy. You know, everybody falls here and there and whatever. That's why it's called a narrow path, right? So, you know, I over these last 3 years after retiring, I kind of had to figure a lot of shit out. And sometimes, like, I think about it, I'm like, did I have a midlife crisis, kind of? Because it's interesting. You're starting a whole new life. So think back when you were in your early 20s and you're trying to figure out your life to start. It's kind of like that. But now you're like, okay, what do I do with the rest of my life now? If you really want the most out of it. And for my brain, it's overthought. You know, I have an overthought brain. It's a good thing and a bad thing. You know, but my brain consistently wants to think deeper about almost everything. And that's why I do this podcast. That's why I teach myself a lot of things. That's why I want to learn. That's why I want to try to do more creative things, because to me, there's so much depth to what life can be. And you're really not going to know that unless you go out here and you chase it. So that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. But at the same time, it brought me a lot of, I would say, ups and downs, a lot of different emotions that you have to run through. You have people in your life that come and go that might make you feel some type of way. And, when you have those down times, for me, I had to sit here and say, all right, like, something's got to give, man. I gotta break a pattern, or I gotta understand myself more. And what's funny is I go on YouTube a lot, and I watch a lot of podcasts, or I watch a lot of just like growth videos and things like that, And what I realized is, like, wow, I would look at the views, and I would see how many people out here are watching this stuff. And it could be somebody that's just a normal guy that has a channel, and he's talking about self-help, or he's talking about anxiety, or he's talking about just growing as a person, whatever. Hundreds of thousands of views, right? Which ultimately shows you that most of society is lost. They're all out here searching for the same thing. They all want to know how to feel better. They all want to find happiness. All right? They all want to know how to not hurt, not feel those emotions. All this shit. Most people won't tell you that. Most people won't show you that. So it started to open my mind up. And that's what kind of brought me back to the podcast too. Because it's one of the best feelings, being out here and having conversations with people and making them kind of think more for themselves as well. Because I'm the type of guy where, like, I'll make you think. I'll ask questions. Like when I cut your hair, I get into so many deep conversations, and I've built so many connections and relationships with my clients because I'll just get more in depth with you. It's like almost like you're answering questions that people probably never asked you before. So it makes you think for yourself as well. And I just it's so interesting to me. It's without a doubt my passion in life is just learning about people, because I see what goes on out here. I see how everybody's acting and what they're doing and this and that. But then I say to myself, there's got to be more depth as to why they're doing these things. So why? For what reason did that person do that? Or do they act like that? Or did that situation happen? Or whatever. So I'm always looking for that. It's interesting. So, so now we're here. And what I plan on doing with this is just a lot of self-help stuff, a lot of, like, the things that I've learned, okay? The things that I've learned in life. And what those are is just, man, like, you have to embrace a lot of the negativity that you go through. You have to embrace a lot of the stress and the hurt and the bad emotions and feelings. You have to sit there and reflect on yourself. And you have to feel these emotions. The problem in life is nobody wants to feel. Nobody likes to feel negative things. They don't want to hurt, right? That's why there's so much coping negatively out here. Sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling, lying, manipulating, whatever it is. It's all to not feel whatever you're feeling. But when you sit with those feelings and you feel them, and you start to dissect them, and you start to understand yourself, and you start to look at your life a little bit more, you grow. But that also comes with taking responsibility for yourself. Saying, what am I not good at? What is my flaws? What did I do wrong? Do I have any regrets? These are all things you should be asking yourself. So for the last 3 years, I've done a lot of this. The last year, I've done a lot of it. And when you kind of get to a place where you realize how important that is, then you don't stray from it. It's a way of life now, to reflect on yourself, to grow, to just every day, it's in your mind that I need to be the best version of me. For myself, for the people I love, for my future, for my job, for everything. But ultimately, I'm proud of myself, proud of what I endured. People can say whatever they want about me, you know? And you're never going to appease everybody out here. They have their own reasonings for liking you, their own reasonings for disliking you. And for me, I just worry about what I need to do to be the best version of me. And I'm hoping that my story, and I'm hoping that the things I went through in my life, and what I stood up for, what I endured, motivates people to live a better life and to get what you want out of your life and be who you want to be. Because nobody's going to give that to you. If anything, they're going to try to take it from you. Go out here and get what you want out of your life. Be the person you want to be. Do it with positivity. All right? We're going to have a lot of things coming up on the podcast. I'm going to start interviewing people again. I want to do a lot of like little different type of content where, we're just going to randomly show up at spots and talk to people and interview them and, ask questions and get more in depth with life. And, there will be funny things. There will be, I'm sure, more in depth things. And just really learning more about normal people out here. And I say normal because we, as a society, especially with social media now, nothing's really real, right? A lot of fakeness out here, more than ever. So we're watching bullshit all day long. We're looking up to celebrities all day long. We're watching politicians lie to us all day long and believing it and fighting with each other and all this stuff. No. I don't want any of that around me. So I want to bring positive content. I want people to learn from it. I want people to be motivated from it. I want people to really understand, like, I'm bringing this to you as real as I can. I don't bullshit. I don't come out here and try to make content just for views. No, it has to have meaning to it. I have to feel from it. So everything I do on this page, everything you see me post, everything you see me talk about, it's straight from the heart. It's straight from realness. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't sit here. And some of it is my opinion. Is it right? No. It's what I feel is best. It's what I feel is positive, or it's what I feel is the truth or logical. All right? I'm not perfect. All right? I'm not perfect, but I do try to live a positive life. And I want everybody out here to get the best out of their life. I want everybody out here to feel good, learn themselves, be themselves, get the most out of their lives. And I want to come across all you people. I want to make more connections. I want all this to really grow into something positive. So if you're somebody who wants to come on the podcast, hit me up, DM me. If you're somebody who wants to get involved, you have any ideas that we could do to collaborate, whatever it is, I'm willing to connect with everyone and anyone. And that's really what it's all about. So go back, look at the podcast episodes from 2019 and 2020. Check them out. You'll see the vibe. You'll see what I'm about. You'll see, and listen, I'm sure you're going to go read those Google articles about me. And listen, this is another reason why I'm doing this show. Because when I was in that profession, I wasn't able to really defend myself. I couldn't really come out and show, say what I wanted to say or show people who I really am or anything, because I still had to protect myself legally. I had a pension that I was working hard for, all things that could be taken away from me for whatever reason they wanted it to be, or put me through things or make me fight for it again or whatever. So now I can really just be myself, be as open as I want to be, so you can see who I really am, not who the media portrayed me as. So anybody who wants to hit me up. Follow me on TikTok for the love. Follow me on Instagram for the love. We'll be out here. If you know anybody who has interesting stories, anybody that's went through really tough times, got through it, how they got through it, or if it was you and you want to come out and tell your story, hit me up. But I'm glad to be back, and it's going to be a really cool journey. And this is my passion, people. This is my passion. So we'll go from here, and I have a lot of stories. I'll get more in depth about my career down the road and things that happened, and we'll break down some more stuff, and we'll go from there. Peace.